Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of Chasing the Classics. I'm really excited that I was able to do an episode so quickly. I originally had only planned on this being a monthly thing, but I got a couple of really good opportunities to go out, explore, find some cool stuff in the Indianapolis area, and then actually found some of the best stuff local to me at a store I didn't even know was around. So that was even better, and I actually am super excited to show you guys that stuff. But first, I want to talk about something I really needed to cover in the first video, and that's the influences for why I did this. So something I want to do real quick is just talk about the type of influences I've had. I've been a huge retro gaming collector. I talked about that in the first episode, but it's people like the Angry Video Game Nerd, the Nostalgia Critic, the Gaming Historian, Matt Pat, the Game Grumps, guys like that who just keep me wanting to come back to these retro classics and find some cool stuff that really I don't think has been explored that much before, but get that and bring it to you guys so you have more information and you know where to get this kind of stuff, because it could just be at a local store just down the street. I think the most important influence has been the Game Chasers, and they're kind of not as big as some of the names I just threw out there, but they're so cool. It's great to see these guys. They go to garage sales, flea markets, stores. They run through the whole gamut. It's very well produced. It's hilarious. The guys are great that they have on there. And it's been a huge influence on me doing my own type of show. So firstly, I got to go down to Indianapolis, but I didn't find as much as I was hoping. I actually had a list of about 9 stores I wanted to hit while I was down there. I only got around to doing about 4 or 5 of them. And the only thing I got was a Donkey Kong Country 2 strategy guide. And that was about it. They had a couple of stores that were really nice. The Exchange, they had a couple of those that had a really cool layout, and they also included vinyl and VHS movies and DVDs and all sorts of music. So that was really cool to see a nice variety in your average game store. But the selection down there wasn't exactly what I was thinking. They didn't even have some industry standards like Mario World or Final Fantasy. They didn't have a lot of the good SNES, NES games I was looking for. So I went back to one of the local disc replays around me just to see if they had anything new on a whim. And I found something really cool that I've been trying to get my hands on. It's something little, nothing super rare or anything, but I did find a copy of Scud, the Disposable Assassin. It's a really interesting game for the Sega Saturn. I mean, it's complete in box, super nice. And are you ready for Scud? So that's pretty nice. It's kind of like a weird Deadpool thing. It's like you transition from side-scrolling to first-person shooter or have it at the same time. And he's like supposed to be this quirky, funny, I mean, like on the side of the box you can see will kill for money. He reminds me of Deadpool a lot. The second thing I got was a copy of Oddworld Adventures for the Game Boy. And many of you might be going, how in the world did they make an Oddworld game for the Game Boy? I don't know. I think it's interesting and I wanted to check it out. So I picked it up. It was cheap. We'll see how it is. The third game I got was just silly. It just looked funny, and I want to eventually play it on the channel. But it's Boomer's Adventure in Asmic World. I don't know what that means. I don't know what I'm supposed to think about this. So I want to play it and see what it's like. And finally, I thought this was a really good deal. I got a copy of Final Fantasy IV Advance for about $5. So good finds overall and good prices on everything. So I found some really cool stuff there and I was really excited. So I figured I just wanted to expand out, maybe not go a place more than 10 miles from where I was. And I ended up finding another disc replay in Highland, Indiana. And guys, I know it's a disc replay, but this is the best disc replay I have ever been to. And I have been to a lot of disc replays, believe me. I don't even know where to begin. First of all, the store is gigantic. It's super expansive, and they have so much inventory. It's just insane. The people, and don't get me wrong, the people at the other disc replay were super nice, and they were very helpful, and they had good prices on everything, but the selection just, it can't compete with this one in Highland, Indiana. It's just unbelievable. They have everything from, they've got books, they've got games, they've got a section devoted to horror, they've got anything you could really want nerd related. CDs, they've got plenty of music, and the vinyl sections. I can't believe I've ever seen a disc replay that has a vinyl section, but this one did, and it was incredible. It wasn't just your standard run-of-the-mill vinyl. No, they had video game soundtracks, and I picked up a couple. So I was looking through the store, and I'm in awe of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of really rare stuff, a lot of really interesting stuff that you don't normally see. The only deficiency I saw was in their lack of strategy guides that I want to pick up. Usually with that volume, they have something kind of interesting or rare to look at. But other than that, I mean, they had import Saturn stuff. They had in-box everything you could think of, including things you would never want, but it was there. So just like before, I actually am going to be able to show you some footage this time. Yep, that's right. I got to talk to some really cool people at that disc replay. I was so blown away. I just started talking to these guys about how cool their stuff was, and they were super nice, and they let me record some shots. They said I could come in later and film if I needed to, which I probably will do again because I will be back at this store. And I encourage anybody visiting Northern Indiana, Northwest Indiana, to check this store out, because this is true. This is a true gamer's store. Like, if you're looking for retro video games or collectibles or anything like that, you need to visit this store because they are true fans in there. I spoke to one of the owners. I think he was either the owner or the manager. He was a super nice guy, and he talks about how he constantly tries to take in as much as he can because he just knows that somebody's going to want it. And the soundtracks for the video games on vinyl was just an outstanding touch that just put it a cut above the rest. So without further ado, I'm going to give you guys the virtual tour. I didn't get as expansive of a view as I wanted of the store, but I can always come back for more. But I got some really cool stuff to show you guys. So here they have a selection of Atari Jaguar CD games in box, a copy of Myst for Jaguar CD, a bunch of box and television games, and a boxed Wonder Swan. They have a 3DO controller in box, a CDI controller in box. How often do you see that? Oh god, N-Gage games. Take them away. I need to look at a copy of Kung Fu. Oh hey, here's some of their Super Nintendo in-box games. Ooh, a copy of Kiwame for the Famicom. How interesting. Here's a look at their box Nintendo 64 section. Look how many CDs are on the counter alone. The store is filled with cases that have tons of stuff. Here's a section with Saturn stuff. Here's a Japanese Saturn import memory card. Incredible. So many things. They even have a glass case dedicated to just horror things. Look at all this stuff. Speaking of horror, the scariest book ever made, Goosebump 3 Ghoulish Tales. Here's a small look at the vinyl they have in store. They even have Killer Scratches, the Killer Instinct soundtrack. Look at all these things. This is just the tip of the iceberg. They have plenty more in front of this. Finally, we have probably the coolest piece in here, the Nintendo TV manufactured by Sharp. So, one of the items we saw inside of the store is what's going to segue into the next section. Now, I actually already own a Sharp Nintendo television. I was lucky enough to find one probably 2 years back, and it's been one of my favorite purchases I've ever made. It's one of the coolest systems that can possibly exist. It's a Nintendo that's built in to a TV. And it looks amazing, it plays amazing, and the picture is incredible. It's incredible. And if you don't believe me, take a look at Zelda 2. So, as you can see, this is super clear picture. The C1 or the Sharp TV, whatever you want to call it, is incredible. And the picture is so nice that they used to use it for pictures of gameplay footage in magazines, which I think is amazing that they used to do it with these kind of things. And I'm super happy to own a piece of history like that. It's one of the only versions of the NES I still play. Unless I'm trying to seriously play a game, then I pull out my top loader, because that just plays way better. The one complaint I have about the Sharp is that it still loads horizontally, so it's still a lot harder to get games to play the way you want them to without having to jiggle them and get them into that right position. And I'm sure after a while I'll have to try to change the 72-pin connector, which I'm sure is going to be super fun taking off that casing. So that was a look at the store, and I'm telling you, that's not even a quarter of this store. They have so much more. Check them out. I can't stress that enough. So let's move on to some of the things I got from there. So the only game I picked up from there was a loose copy of Albert Odyssey for the Sega Saturn. Now, a lot of you might not be too familiar with this game, but it's a Working Designs game that, I mean, I love Working Designs, and I don't know if you guys know that about me yet, but I pretty much pick up almost everything they put out. So it's a Working Designs RPG for the Sega Saturn. It's apparently one of the hidden gems for it. I've never played it before, but I really want to try it. I'm excited to maybe stream it with you guys too, and we can kind of share that experience. So the really cool stuff I got came in the form of the vinyl, because I like vinyl. I think it's cool. The art is really awesome. So I'm going to show you a few things in order of coolness I picked up. So the first is a vinyl copy of the soundtrack for Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's done by Mondo Records. The second thing is something I picked up for one of our fellow Community Joystick members, and it is the Silent Hill soundtrack, also done by Mondo. I love the art at the front of this, and he's a huge fan. Cody, I hope you enjoy this, man. This is for you. The final thing is the coolest thing I found. Okay, so this is the coolest thing I found by far, and I was really happy to see it. So this is a copy of the Snatcher soundtrack on vinyl, and I love the art on the back. I think it's just a super cool find. I'm really excited to honestly open it up and start playing it, but this is something done by Ship to Shore Records. So if you can take a look, I think they have it available for pre-order right now. I'm going to put a link in the description to both of these places, and hopefully you guys can find some cool stuff of your own. So before I get into the really cool stuff, I found one other thing at a place called Second and Charles that I could not keep my eyes off of. It was in the soundtrack section, and I'm just going to let it speak for itself. With such songs as Shabbat Is Not and William Weinstein, how could it not be great? Well, I guess that's just the woman in you that brings out the Jew in me. I can't. So that's all I have for you guys this week. I really enjoyed filming this stuff. I'm going to be going back to that disc replay quite often to check out the kind of things they have. I'm really excited to see how my retro gaming collecting adventure goes forward from this point. So I am going to leave you with a little bit of fun I had this episode, thanks to the Sharp television and a little video game that you might be familiar with. So enjoy it.